field in his pits at Formula D, Texas. We're here on Wednesday, so he's setting up and everything right now, and we're gonna chat about what makes him special. He can tell us what makes him special, but I'll try and help out because interviews are sometimes kind of hard. What I think makes him special is he's still a grassroots drifter that is at the highest level of grassroots, at the highest level of professional drifting, if you know what I mean. Now he's a professional drifter.
But still started at the grassroots.
I was gonna say it's really hot out, so I'm doing a bad job already. He drives a Corvette, which is super unique, even though he started in an S chassis. Is that your old S chassis?
That's my old car right there. That's my old baby.
So we can ask him lots of cool questions about like what's it like to build your 240SX is about the most aggressive one in the world. Do you agree?
I mean, there's definitely like 5 or 10 of them out there now that are very similar, but the interesting thing about this car is this was one of the first cars to have like rear mount radiator, have something over 750 horsepower, right?
Yeah.
You gotta remember, this is an old car. This is like the second car that I ever drove at FD. So this is 8 years old or 9 years old, this chassis now, so it's getting there.
And like you've kind of taken it to the end. Do you think that's the end of that car? Not the end of the car, but like as far as you can take it, or do you think there's another level beyond that you can go?
Well, that kind of brings us into why I'm driving a Corvette. Really.
So you feel like you've topped it out?
Right.
Okay.
I think for the last couple years I drove this car, I was searching and looking for something that wasn't quite there. I'd make adjustments, I'd make changes, and maybe that one thing that I was looking for would get better, but something else would get worse. So it was constantly finding the balance. I mean, I did pretty good in this car. It's a proven chassis, it's fast, it's always up there at the top of the speed rankings, right? And in professional drifting, that's like the #1 thing we care about, unfortunately. But I got to a point where I felt I needed a change. One, it was good for sponsors. Biggest thing being Part Shop Max. They were on board with building everything for a Corvette. And two, I felt like I kind of had reached the full potential of that car. And the Corvette, I felt like, you know, who knows?
Is the Corvette better as it is right now?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
But also, if I drove that car for 2 years versus this car for the last 2 years, maybe I would think different, right? But right now, I don't even like driving S chassis anymore, which is funny because S chassis are like the most fun cars to drive, right? They're so easy, they're predictable, tons of parts, blah, blah, blah. But I don't even really want to drive an S chassis anymore. Like I have my practice car, which is a, fairly basic C6, and this car, competition car, and I have no interest in driving S chassis anymore.
Why is that? And when we say like better, why is it quantifiably better?
Right.
So first tell us why you don't want to drive S chassis anymore and you want to just drive Corvettes, and then we'll go into the next question.
Okay. So I just want to drive Corvettes, one for the practice, right? That's the #1. If I'm gonna embrace myself and live this Corvette life and be all about Corvettes like I was with an S chassis for, I don't know, 12 years or whatever, since I started drifting till I stopped driving that car, it was S chassis everything. That's the biggest thing is the practice, right? I feel like the Corvette chassis is better because it responds a lot better to the changes that I've made. And when you make a mistake in an S chassis, you can kind of cover it up, but if you do something incredibly brilliant, it kind of covers itself up, right? It's very neutral, right? Where the Corvette, like if I get it right, it's really, really good. It definitely feels a little bit faster than the S chassis, for sure. But the one downside to it is everything happens so quick. So with the S chassis, you can almost fall asleep when you're out there doing a qualifying run and be okay. You have to be on your toes driving this car. I think they transition so quick. Yeah. Right? Like
mine drives exactly like an S chassis. Mine is stock control arms all the way around with just like, a new hole drilled in the front knuckle for more angle and coilovers, and it is, it literally feels exactly like a Pro-Am V8 240SX
240, yeah. I feel mine, even my practice car, it just transitions quicker than a 240, where you can make a 240 transition quick, but this thing just does it on its own.
Yeah. So
you kind of just have to be one step ahead, and that could also be because, your car and like my practice car and this, very different, right? How you drive it, very different. Sometimes we make these things not fun to drive, where like my practice car and a normal 240 is like the most fun thing to drive ever. So I think it gets to a point where I have to stay ahead of the car. And to be completely honest, I'm still making changes every time, like on the suspension, redesign this, change spring rates to try to get ahead of it. With
my own Corvette, I would say it's better than a 240SX, obviously, because it's so stock compared to it. It just came built from the factory, and that's why I like it so much, if you know what I mean. The only problem with it is you have a lot of the factory wiring in your car and all that stuff, which I did have some problems with. We had it would just go into limp mode basically because the ABS plug was like jiggling, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So there were some problems like that, but I love the chassis and stuff.
And it's so strong. Like the subframes, they don't break, they don't bend. Resilient, like the control arms, the knuckles, the brakes, everything is very beefy. And it's cool that it's beefy, but it's aluminum, so it's not too heavy, right? It's not a light car, but it's not a heavy car.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, it's just like, for someone like myself, I don't like to modify cars much. I like to drive the most basic thing possible to do what I want.
Corvettes, really, you can't.
No, yeah. And I was gonna say, it's actually surprising that there's a lot of people. So I started driving one, I don't know, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. I think you bought yours maybe first and you were building this, and then knuckle kits became available, which was like the turnkey thing. You're like, okay, it's time now.
Yeah.
But I'm actually surprised more people don't drive them.
Yeah.
Like I thought after driving it the first time, and like it literally just worked. Like we didn't even align the thing yet, and I was like, oh god, this thing's good. I was like, everybody's gonna go out and buy one. And there's some out there, but I thought everybody was gonna have one.
I think it's still the price point, right? Like we're getting close with the C5. Like, you'd have to be a fool not to buy one price. We're getting close with the C5.
Yeah.
But a C6 is still 10, 11, 15 grand, right? And
but it's still way better than
building a car.
Right,
absolutely.
And I still have so many drivers, because I'm an event organizer, and I see so many people, and Sai sees it too. Well, we all see it, but at our events, we have so many guys with rear mount radiators, supercharged, quick change, dog box cars. We have multiple people with sequentials at our events now.
Which is at a Pro-Am event, right?
Right. One transmission costs more than an entire Corvette build at that point. So I was gonna say it is weird and everything.
I think it's also we're at the cusp, right? It's been long enough that people are aware. And maybe people want one, but people have either already been building this E36 for a year or two and are planning on bringing it out, or have a car that's already built. They're not going to get rid of their built car that they know how to drive to buy a stock Corvette, right?
Yeah.
So we're right in that middle ground of, is it cheap enough to have a second drift car? And the new people coming forward might be building them or buying them or deciding to build them. So I think over the next year or two, but how long have people been drifting 240s and E36s? Finally to the point where we have crazy cars, right? At a Pro-Am level. So I think the Corvettes will get there, but anybody who has a serious car and has the means to build it has already.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm just always blown away by how good they are. And then that people aren't driving them.
I know. You see
it's
a lot
wild.
of C5s though. They're out there, for sure.
Yeah. No, they absolutely are. We have probably more, I don't know, how many Corvettes do we have in our series?
Like 3? We have 3 different ones.
We had 3 at one event sometimes.
That's pretty
But there's
good.
only one that's consistently always out there, and he's winning our Texas Street Legal Series this year.
Right.
But I can't believe anybody would have anything but a Corvette
Especially
for that
in the
series.
Street Legal series, yeah, for sure.
Okay, what else can we talk about? Oh, I know what I want to talk about. So, do we cover the exact differences? Let's talk about the exact differences between these cars.
Okay.
So, how much horsepower is this one, and how much horsepower is that one?
Like full tilt all out on the dyno, this does 1,080 and this does 1,050.
Okay, so basically the same.
Yes, basically the same. How we actually drive them is like 900, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, they're drive-by-wire, so we limit the power with the drive-by-wire. It makes it easier to drive, more throttle control, less peaky, they make too much power to be able to make 2 laps on a set of tires. So you gotta pull it back a little bit.
And how much does this one weigh, and how much does that one weigh?
This is 3,100 pounds, or like 31 something, and this is 3,030, so it is a little bit lighter.
The Corvette's lighter?
Corvette's lighter.
That's like really surprising.
Well, it's because of all this crazy carbon Kevlar everything, right? They just don't make that for S chassis, or else this car would have it. So.
Yeah.
Actually, the M-Spec guys, the guys from that built Dan Stukey's carbon Kevlar S15, they're finally starting to come out with that stuff, and literally if I put that stuff on this car, it'd be right where it needs to be, but unfortunately till then fiberglass is just heavy. Just gotta deal with it.
I can't believe someone's saying fiberglass parts are heavy. It's like a fender is 2 pounds. You're like, well, it's 50% lighter, it's 1 pound.
Yeah, well, these are like half a pound, so what are you gonna do?
What is is this thing better at anything than the Corvette?
The one thing that I still have not figured out how to make better in the Corvette is this thing on throttle transitions. You're able to control the exact amount of angle that you want the car to stop at on throttle. Well, either way, on throttle or off throttle, but generally speaking, it's a little bit harder to anticipate where the car is going to settle out in an on throttle transition situation, like here at Texas. Where this car, you could on throttle transition and be like, I want it to stop right here, or I want it to stop here, or I want it to stop here. Very predictable, very easy. Where the Corvette on throttle transitions, it might snap to 90 degrees, it might snap straight, I might have to left foot brake to slow the rotation down, I might have to throw the wheel to speed up the rotation. So it's something that I haven't quite figured out why this car does so much better than this one, but believe me, it's something I think about all the time. Yeah.
So is it dangerous to drive this thing like that then, since you're guessing, or it's not
I will
that bad?
say if Pat hopped from this car, if Pat did 10 laps in this car and said, you put him in this thing and said, all right, Pat, time to go qualify, put it on pull, he might snap, over rotate, fly off course or something like that because of how fast this car transitions and how hard it is to predict when it's going to stop rotating.
Interesting.
That's like super nerd drift stuff though. That's like intense drift nerd
Is
stuff.
it just because it has way more forward bite than side bite or something?
I think it might come down to the weight balance, where this is exactly 50-50. This is like 51 and a half front. So I think maybe once the weight gets going, it doesn't want to stop, and it maybe takes a little bit more for the weight to get going. Also, this has very little puller weight. So puller weight's like weight behind the rear axle, right? There's almost nothing back there except for some carbon, some Kevlar, and a wing. Where this car has 2 batteries behind the rear axle and the radiator behind the rear axle. So that might actually, you would think that it would make it worse because once it starts swinging, it doesn't want to stop. But that is one difference between the car where this has like no puller weight and that has a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Corvette's so tame that like I'm like, what makes a difference? Obviously mine is just like on Kendas and stuff and a completely different thing.
The biggest
It just
thing is
feels
the
like a
rubber band
240.
effect, right? Like when you have a car that's super gripped up and loaded and you give it one of
Throws
those
around.
whop, right? Like a lift transition, they spring. And you got to remember too, we're on a 295/40, so there's a lot of sidewall flex. We run really low pressures, really soft springs, no sway bars in the back, so this car has a lot of rubber band effect.
Does that one run sway bars? Is that what's doing it, where you're loading up with no sway bar and everything and it's just unloading so much?
When I ran this car on Falcons, we ran a sway bar because the tire has so much side bite.
Yeah.
When Pat runs this car on Achilles, he's kind of 50-50 with the sway bar on and off. Really depends on the track. On bank tracks, he likes running the sway bar because the car will like teeter-totter on entry, right? Like at New Jersey, guys will like start lifting the right front really bad. And this car does it really bad. So we put the sway bar on for bank tracks. But like out here, no sway bar.
All right, let's talk about, so I was giving an example earlier that he's kind of like Chelsea, like 3 years ago, before Chelsea went on a big team. So you're very similar, where you're a grassroots guy that came through grassroots drifting, ran your own program, have been running it very successfully with a car that, like, you know, you've been running for a very long time and building up very successfully. Everyone knows you by your cars very well, I think, just like they knew Chelsea and stuff. But he's now like, if he probably continues on Team RTR for another year or two, everybody will forget he ever was a grassroots guy because everybody's always new coming in.
Yeah.
He'll be like, you know, Darth Vader, you know, of
He'll be
drifting.
the new Vaughn.
Yeah,
right?
which
That's
is the
it.
new Vaughn,
Yeah.
which he just looks like a huge money team and stuff. You've gone the other direction where you've been running your own team this entire time. Do you like doing that? Is it incredibly difficult? Have you got it where it's on autopilot every year?
I definitely would say it's not quite to the autopilot mode. Not yet. It's becoming easier and easier year after year, but I will say that adding a second car to my program does not make it easier in any way. Right? It was getting to the point where it was easy. Car was running well. We were performing well. The team was working well. Everybody was happy. No one was hating each other. We're surviving, right? We're not only eating McDonald's and ramen, right? We're doing okay. And then I decided it's a great idea to add a second car to the program, and then that just brings us back to maybe not step one, but makes things difficult again.
A lot of teams add a second car to bring in more income because they're already transporting and everything else.
Right.
And then it seems like after 2 seasons of that or so, they quit that.
We'll
You know
see.
what I mean?
We'll see. We'll see. For me, I like it, right? I like having my other car here, and don't get me wrong, I don't view this thing this year as my car. Like when I look at this thing, when I talk about it, it's Pat's car, right? So my program, Pat's car. So it is really rewarding having 2 cars out there, and Pat has been an amazing ambassador for my car and my team. Like he says nothing but good things. He's out there, he's excited to drive, he's performing better than he ever has. So those are all positive things, and it's nice to have this thing not sit and not do anything, right? It's like, it's a wild animal, man. You gotta let her stretch her legs every once in a while. Backing up though, like at the shop, the days we're not at the track, when it's just me and all the guys have gone home, and I have both cars up on the lift, the gearbox needs to come out of that one, and this thing needs a full alignment, an oil change, a gear change, a sway bar adjustment, and that thing also needs this done and this done and this done, and I'm looking how many days I got and how many hours I have ahead of me. That's where it becomes difficult. But at the same time, like, what else am I gonna do, dude? I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to put in the work now, and hopefully later it pays off. I think many people have done the second car, and maybe it's been successful a little bit, but I see what I have going on with Pat, and he's doing good, and the car's performing, that I'm just going to keep going. You don't get less rental cars, you get more.
You could be like Power Vehicles and everybody just, yeah.
I don't know if that business model works here in the U.S. without an Ebisu, but you know.
Yeah. I wish there was an Ebisu here.
I know.
What percentage of your time is now driving versus working on the cars versus like just planning and logistics and stuff versus like selling yourself to sponsors and stuff? What do you think it is?
I think it's actually pretty even, minus, well, I will say, no, I think I'm pretty even with the driving, honestly, because like last year I went to China 6 times, I did D1, I get invited to other events, I do coaching with other drivers where I'm driving their car or driving somebody else's car. If you break down the per hour, no, the driving is always going to be the least amount, right? But I don't call driving just sitting in the car behind the wheel, right? Like if you're out at the racetrack and you're making adjustments and you're with your team or you're coaching somebody, that to me is a whole day spent out at the racetrack, and I consider that a day's worth of driving, right? Just because I get 20 minutes behind the wheel doesn't mean I wasn't out at the racetrack all day experiencing the fun of driving. So I would say it's pretty even, especially in the last couple months, because I've been working with some Pro 2 teams doing driver and team development coaching. I get to go out to drift events and I get invited to judge, and they say, hey, here's a stock Corvette, go make a fool of yourself, and I get to drive for 2 days and judge for a couple hours, so that's always good. And just the other day, I went down Willow Springs with Odie with my practice car and his practice car, and we did 2 days, 1 day at Grange and 1 day at Willow Springs, just him and I, lead follow. I probably did 300 laps.
Yeah. Like, with this thing?
No, with my black car, with my Street C6. So being able to have days like that make me say maybe it's pretty even between all those things. But let's be real. If you're a drifter, you spend more time in the shop or in the garage than you do out on track. That's just part of the deal. But if you can not like drain yourself so much that you don't have fun at the track anymore, you're doing okay.
Yeah. How much longer do you think you can compete at this level and keep doing what you're doing? Is this something sustainable that you're wanting to continue with and stuff, if you know what I mean?
Right. I definitely want to continue to a point where I feel that I'm good with the sponsors, my program is operating, maybe I'm making some money, my guys are making some money, maybe someday I want to buy a house, and if this can pay for that, that would be amazing. If it can't pay for it and I have to move on to something else, great. But in my mind, I want to do this drifting thing until I can be successful enough that I can either have multiple cars in a program that other people drive, and I can move on to doing something else. A goal of mine is to get a drive in a trophy truck, whether it's mine that I was able to finally afford myself, or drive for another team and it's an arrive and drive that you pay for or are good enough to happen to drive it for free or something like that. That's where I would like to end up, and if drifting can help take me there and build the budget and build my name enough that I can have a operating team. I mean, maybe I don't think that I'm going to be a Penske someday, but I mean, I'm one of the early pioneers in operating a team within drifting, and I mean, we don't know where it's going to be in 20, 30, 40 years, right? So if I can still be involved in some way or another.
We'll just be real old.
Yeah, but we're going to be driving, and you might be operating or doing whatever it is that you're doing, and just being involved in the sport of drifting later on in the future. I'm definitely going to be involved in some way. I'm not going to drive forever, but I would definitely not mind having a team of my own.
I would say the next subject, one of the best perks of what I do is obviously I get to drive a lot, but it's I get to do a lot of weird stuff that normal people don't ever get to experience, because we're kind of at the forefront of a new sport and it's weird and stuff. So like we went to the Middle East, I got to tag along for that trip. I mean, that whole thing was surreal.
Why would they bring us out to hang out and play with cars?
But I mean, beyond that, like we're in a garage with $250 million of cars. Like I've never seen something like that before.
And very many people won't ever.
Right. I was gonna say, you get to go drive in China all the time. I've been going around the world nonstop for years now. Poland, Australia, Japan. I'm sure there's tons of other places. Of course there is. So I was gonna say, the perks are so cool that you meet all these amazing people and get to do all this amazing stuff. What are the best things that you've gotten to do in like the last 2 or 3 years because of this?
I think our
do you agree with
trip,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Like, we only do this because we love it. We love the opportunities that are presented. Going to another country that we've never been, and whether it costs us zero money, we make money, or we spend a little bit of money, it's still an opportunity that we would never have. Or we would never go on our own. So I think that to me is one of the most important things, because none of us are making a killing. None of us are making what we could be making at Apple or Google or something like that, even though we spend way more time and we might work even harder than anybody over there. It's just part of the deal. We dug our grave. We have to enjoy it on our way down, right? That's just it. I think going to Dubai was an amazing thing for sure. Actually, Luke Fink bringing me out to Australia and just like having fun, partying, experiencing this, going to the beach, driving cars. That was a really cool experience because I can't tell you, I don't know when I would go to Australia. I don't know when I would ever book myself a vacation. Like it might never happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
And probably going to China, honestly. Like Japan is cool, but I kind of went there on my own and I drove for a team. Like that was an amazing experience, but that's just Japan, right? But going to China, because China's another place that I would never, ever, ever go. And I got to have one of the wildest nights of my entire life in Shanghai, like insane, wild party night, lose everything, lucky to get back to the hotel, barely make the bus, lucky to have my passport, like one of those wild, crazy nights. Like, I wouldn't have that unless I was out there drifting. Like, I'm not going to go on a vacation with my family and have one of the wildest nights of my life in downtown Shanghai at some Russian mafioso gangster bar at 3 a.m., right? It's just not going to happen.
You did something else recently that I thought was really cool. So most of the content we see online now is like, say, vloggy or something like that. Everybody's YouTubing and vlogging, and there's not a lot of like blow you away media moments. Do you know what I'm about to talk about?
Nitrous first.
So I was gonna say, and I'm gonna cut a little bit in if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
He shot this amazing, cool Corvette video where there's not a lot of pieces of media that aren't like, that capture your attention. You can watch the whole thing that are driving like that. Where was that? How cool was it? How long did it take to shoot? How many takes? Did you do the whole thing in one take? Why did you do that? Like, who paid, not, paid or whatever, but who got the whole thing together?
Right.
Was it just you and some friends, or was it like a big corporate thing? You want to tell us about that? Because I thought that was incredibly cool, but I never saw any behind the scenes stuff, if you know what I mean.
Right. I think the reason why you didn't see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is because everything was what we saw. Like, that was it. It was either us standing around, the drone pilot getting ready to go, me hopping in the car, like that's it. There was no bullshit, there was no hanging out. We went there for a reason. We did it in one day and maybe 10 hours or something like that, or less. And that road is actually incredibly special to me because that's where I grew up drifting. Right? Everyone starts from
So it's a
parking
public
lots.
road, right?
Yes, it's a public road. Everybody starts in parking lots and then they go to like freeway on-ramps and then you grow the balls, at least where I'm from, where there's mountain roads, and you go on the mountain. So that's where I grew up driving. Like when it was rainy, doesn't matter what time it was, that's where we were. It was up on the mountain. It's like 5 minutes away from my parents' house where I grew up. So being able to go back there and shoot something was incredibly special, and being able to take a pro car out there is like a dream, right? We always think about that when we're driving our shipbox beater E36s up there, like one day, man, one day. But I actually teamed up with Heatwave. They came to me and said, hey, we want to shoot a rad video. What are your thoughts? What do you want to do? We did the first time in the S14 on that road. It's a very small section. And then the owner of Heatwave, Justin, actually met with the drone pilot, Air Blaster, and worked with him on some other projects and was like, hey dude, if you think that you could fly through this mountain and there's a lot of trees and a lot of narrow places, it would be really rad. So we went out there, kind of looked at the location, and he was like all for it. So all of that stuff is, anything that was multiple takes was because either the drone messed up or lost signal or whatever it might be, or we need a second view for a second camera on a very tight thing. But like, to me, one of the coolest shots of that whole thing is where I like stick the bumper in the guardrail.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So I told those guys, I said, hey guys, I'm gonna do this first try. And they kind of laughed. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
It has to have no tire marks.
I'm going to do this first try because if you have me do it again, I will probably crash, right? So like, I'm gonna do this first try, don't fuck up.
Yeah.
And that was the first try, that was the first shot, and I like got half an inch from this whatever red, I don't know which one it is, right? But it was a red, doesn't matter, it's expensive, right on the end of the guardrail, and I was like this close, and they were joking like, you want to do it again? I'm like, I'll definitely hit your camera then, like, let's just call it at that. So being able to do something like that and work with Johnny, who's the FPV drone pilot, like, he was amazing to work with. At that point, there wasn't a whole lot of those type of videos out there, right? Like, other than flying through nature and really cool stuff on that, automotive hadn't really mixed with the FPV stuff.
No, it was a really, really cool, like, original looking video that really caught my imagination. I think I remember, I immediately messaged you, I was like, this is the best damn piece of content I've seen this year. You know, because there's...
And impressing him is hard to do. Let's be real.
No, it's pretty easy. But no, I was gonna say there's not a lot of content that you see that's original and unique like that. that's not vloggy or something.
Right.
And, like, it was really, really cool to see. Was it worthwhile to do it? Like, would y'all do it again? Was it not that you have to monetize it and get rich, but I mean, like, is there a path to do more stuff like that?
Right. I think the path to do more stuff is not to monetize it and make money from YouTube, but just to get people excited about it. And it makes sponsors happy, right? When their logo's on the car and you're doing something cool that they can then share and talk about and be proud of, it's awesome. And it's trickled so far down that it's hard for me to believe. To people that are like, let's say Falcon, right? Corporate tire distributor that is one in the Midwest. They sell Falcons and they're the #1 in the Midwest Falcon tire distributor, right? They see that video and are so excited based on that video that they want to bring me out and do meet and greet, bring me to their local racetrack and judge their drift event and do that stuff because they saw me and the car on that piece of content. And we're talking like these guys, and as most people are, they're like hardcore YouTubers. So when you produce something like that on YouTube that people can consume and be excited about and share their friends and family, that's worth every penny.
Yeah. Do you feel pressure to come up with a bunch of YouTube content and media constantly like that?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't done anything with Heatwave this year, because we did the FPV drone video on the mountain road last year. Haven't done anything. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not the most creative person. It's hard for me to produce these ideas and random things to do and funny or exciting content.
No, that stuff is incredibly difficult.
And I'm just not that creative. I'm very mechanical. Like, get the car done, go race. Brake. That's what I do. Right? That's it. So to think outside the box and create something that's on another level or something new and fresh is really, really difficult. So it's hard, man. Absolutely. But I do feel pressure. And it's not pressure from like, you better do it. It's just internal pressure that you should be doing it.
Yeah.
I guess just like the suspension on the Corvette, because literally every round something else has changed or it's different or improved upon. And for me, being able to produce things at a competition level and then kind of back them down for a grassroots level and make it easily obtainable, because let's be real, the knuckles on my car are like $3,000, $4,000. Not everybody's going to be able to buy it.
Yeah.
But developing the optimum and then implementing that on a stock knuckle, where Part Shop Max and I just re-drill it, right? And then you literally have the same exact geometry, same steering angle, same Ackerman, same everything that I run on the competition car, but you can have it for $500 or whatever their knuckles cost, right?
That's amazing.
It's really cool to be able to partner up with Part Shop Max, and they were maybe the #1 reason why I decided to go with the Corvette, because I was so used to this car and accustomed to it and happy with it and just kind of turning the wheels and heading down the path. We got some wins, we got some loses, we're doing okay, to kind of getting pressured from them like, hey, we think that this is going to be the next best thing. And as those cars get more expensive and Corvettes get cheaper, it just made sense. So to be able to partner with Part Shop Max and develop these insane things, and like, I can't thank them enough, right? I tell them like, motherfuckers, I need this and I need it right now. Actually, I need it yesterday. God damn it, right? And they make it happen. And for that stuff and that technology to be able to trickle down to the parts that normal people can buy or afford, or grassroots guys, it's really rewarding, right? It's really rewarding working on this, working on my street car, and then having customers come in and purchase those parts that we developed over the last 2 years.
How much could you dial this car back and still be competitive in Formula D? How much of it is necessary, if you know what I mean?
All of it is necessary.
All of it's necessary? Every bit of it?
And I'm still reaching for more.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
You want to explain something really simple to some people? Why won't there ever be 2,000 horsepower cars in FD?
Until the tire technology can survive 2,000 horsepower, there is no need for it.
Yeah.
I will say that I think that we are maybe like 80% of the way there on the mechanical grip that can be gained. Not one person here is, a Formula One level suspension guru, technician, whatever it might be. So we're all maybe not doing everything that we could on the mechanical grip side of things, because as mechanical grip increases, tire wear decreases, horsepower can increase, right? But until we get there, or the tires are solid rubber or last forever or whatever it might be, there's absolutely a power limit where some is too much. Yeah, for sure.
So everybody's going to self-regulate because of tire wear to 2 laps.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect example, like self-regulate with power and wheel speed, right? Because a lot of these cars, they all have quick changes, so boom, in and out, change the final drive ratio really easily. Perfect example, I was out there testing the track and I'm only drifting 3/4 of the track. I have the wrong gear in the car. I was lucky to get 2 laps only drifting 3/4 of the track. That's how big of a difference wheel speed and horsepower go for tires, because we got to remember, we're drifting on normal DOT street tires, right? These are not anything special, although some people might have some special stuff and brands that cater to drifting. At the end of the day, anybody can buy this tire, so it's not solid rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you drifted an electric car yet?
No, I have not drifted an electric car.
You're around desert stuff. Have you seen those guys building like desert pre-runner stuff that's electric? There's like a, I don't know what all the different trucks are. There's like a little tiny tube frame truck that is incredibly fast at like Glamis or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, have you been around that stuff at all?
No, I haven't seen much about it. I'm sure for the desert stuff, it probably is, the technology's not there yet, but maybe for the short course stuff where it's, 30-minute races or something like that, it could probably be very successful.
Yeah.
One of my old roommates was actually a powertrain engineer and test driver at Tesla. So all the new cars he would bring out, and I've definitely, like, he's been driving when I've been in the car with some crazy stuff like super duper tunes and launch this and all that craziness. So the power is crazy impressive, but I mean, we look at Travis Reeder and the Camaro out here where they're still struggling to make a lap, so maybe we just haven't caught up yet, or maybe it's still a couple years out.
I mean, somebody's gonna figure it out.
Eventually.
I don't think a team that has never drifted is probably the correct people to judge. Not to be mean,
No,
but like, you're figuring everything out.
That was my first thought when I heard who they were and what they had done before, but building a drift car. Right?
And I think that was probably not a good platform to start with for various reasons, because the whole point of electric car is to put everything down in a battery sled, to have all the weight down. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving up all the intrinsic benefits of an electric car with the type of build they did. And it's literally
based off the chassis is limiting you to where you can put stuff.
And I was going to say that's also heavier than it should have been, because you're very limited on the amount of power that you can put out of just one of those motors.
Right.
So anyways, I was going to say it's interesting. I don't think we're there yet with any teams or anything, but I was going to say, do you feel any pressure going that way or anything, or zero? Not until somebody else gets it right.
Maybe when it's proven to be better, then...
Well, if you've driven some like crazy ludicrous mode 100Ds, you know how fast they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, they're faster than almost this.
100% it
like,
is. Absolutely.
And people don't get that. You can literally have a stock like Model S or whatever.
Way faster than any drift car.
Yeah.
Way faster than a lot of drag cars.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's mental.
Yep. I think that there's some limitations to it.
Yeah.
Is it the future at some point? Yes. Is it the future for all racing? Probably. Right? But am I going to be involved in drifting when that is at the top level? Maybe, maybe not. I also am kind of trying to push towards a Chevrolet deal at some point, right? Like, that's the goal for me, driving a Corvette.
Yeah.
So the day that there's a all-electric Chevy supercar, then maybe that's when I really need to start considering it. With the C8 coming out and it already being mid-engine and still a regular...
I was going to say, that means you're going to be in a C8 next year?
I would love if that happened.
Just skip the C7.
I would say we haven't quite... I'm not at that point to say, like, watch what's coming, right? I'm not there yet, but it would absolutely
No, he's saying
be
that.
cool.
He's basically saying he's going to be in a C8 next year.
I'm trying, but... I would already have to have the car and it be torn down and everything, and I would already be talking about it, and I'm not, so I don't. So maybe not next year, but maybe we build the car, make it more of a demo car, develop it over the next year, and then go 2021.
That would be another really good YouTube series that people would really watch you building up that car.
Building a mid-engine supercar drift car!
Yeah.
Yeah!
That would be good.
It would be good.
I'd watch it. And I watch almost no YouTube because I'm so busy.
Well, the build series on this was an absolute nightmare. Like, I'm very fortunate that Donut took care of all the editing, but even just bringing yourself to shoot as much as I did, and then uploading it, right? Like, you gotta remember,
it gets everybody so involved.
Oh, absolutely. It was the best thing that I could have possibly done.
Yeah.
But little insight, like, behind the scenes on that, even though the whole like build thing is behind the scenes, the real behind the scenes is me leaving the shop at like 2:30 a.m. every single night for 6 months, and then going home and having to upload all that footage until 3:30 or 4, and then sleeping for 2.5 hours or 3 hours and then doing it all over again.
Imagine trying to be a YouTuber and editing it too.
Yeah, I'm fortunate that
That's
I did not
a young
have to
man's
do that.
game. When I'm with the YouTubers over in Japan and stuff, they have to upload every day, and that means we'll go out to dinner, we'll be out till 9 or 10, they will be up editing until 2 or 3 or whatever, and then we all get back up at 8. Wow. I mean, like, and this is vacation.
Yeah.
You're like, Jesus. But they're also making a lot of money.
They're successful at it, right? I mean, it's the same thing. If I'm in the shop till 2 or 3 a.m., I don't mind. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah. So when are you going to start vlogging?
I don't know, man. You tell me, because this is honestly something that I've been struggling with. Am I that guy? Am I that type of guy? And I know most people say, well, I wasn't, but now I am, and now I enjoy it, now I'm making money. But with all that I have going on, am I that guy who can also build that into my daily routine?
Man, I don't know. I think that at a certain level, it's not worthwhile for someone like you because you've already figured out your marketing, you're already successful, all of these things. The big thing it does is it allows you to have your own distribution at a certain level that you don't have to, like you already have a big Instagram following, but you know how much that gets you. It doesn't monetize in the same way and stuff.
And that's my number one push and share to sponsors. Like, that's the thing. I don't really enjoy YouTube and I don't enjoy Facebook, so I don't use it. Like, I don't watch YouTube at all.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing I watch on YouTube is Formula One race highlights because I don't have the time to watch the whole race. So it condenses it down to 10 minutes, and that's what I watch on YouTube, and that's it. I enjoy Instagram, so I use it.
I would say if you look at yourself, I would compare you pretty similarly in personality and like how the audience receives you and stuff, if you know what I mean, as to like Chelsea maybe. And Chelsea did YouTube, and you can see the level of success Chelsea had on YouTube.
Yeah. Fuck up.
And if you extrapolate that same success that Chelsea had out on YouTube for however many years, if you know what I mean, like 2 years, would that be something that was worthwhile for you? And I would say at this level, probably no. Unless you had something that you're pushing that you're monetizing, such as merchandise or whatever else, because the ad revenue isn't there to make it worthwhile, probably.
Right.
Especially when, like, if you look at, I'm guessing, and I don't know the statistics of this, but guys like Ryan Turek and Forsberg are not vlogging, and they're very successful probably with media and selling it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you would probably be better off not doing it like a young guy who would be YouTubing on his own and have some type of program like that, like where you worked with Donut Media.
Right.
And you had a definite plan and somebody else did it. It's too hard to YouTube.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for you guys who do that. It's
I'm not
incredible.
a YouTuber.
I mean,
no, YouTube for me, I don't monetize it to any, like I lose money doing YouTube, and we make money through spectators through the gate, so it keeps Lone Star Drift relevant, and it makes people bind together and become a community, I think, with my drivers and all that stuff, and that's why I do it. And we have videos of the events, and I just, drift events always feel like they're starting back over from ground zero, because drift organizations don't typically last beyond like the 3 to 4 year mark.
Yep.
And the drifters typically, Pro-Am guys burn out within 2 to 4 years, I would say. You
it's
agree?
like that's the make or break, really.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was
are
gonna
they
say,
moving on or are they giving up?
Right. So by creating the YouTube channel for Lone Star Drift, I was able to write our own story, if you know what I mean, and keep people interested longer, I think, and keep drivers around for 3 to 6 years or 3 to 8 years maybe for a lot of them. Tell the story of Texas Street Legal, and you know what I mean, like. And all that stuff.
You're also building a really good platform for other drivers to utilize and build off of. And I think a lot, if your drivers don't realize that your platform is a lot better than most other Pro-Ams out there, they're just not optimizing what you have to offer.
And free trips. I really like going on free trips. No, I mean, you know how it is.
Oh, it's the best.
It's literally the best. And the YouTubing allows me to go on a lot of really cool trips.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's our marketing. As a Pro-Am organization, I would go into marketing meetings with companies, and they're like, what are you going to do for us? And I'm like, I'll put you on flyers. And they're like, that's stupid. We don't care. You're like, I'll do this. And they're like, we don't care. And then if you have social media metrics, they're like, ooh, I'll buy that.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, thank God, like something.
Yeah.
So it allows me to give away a lot of big prizes for the series, such as Garrett Turbos and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. What I think that you're doing well already.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you can literally, like, do you have more time to put into stuff?
Here's the thing about anybody who ever asks that, do you have time? No one has time. If it's something you want, you make it happen, right? You find the time for it.
Yes and no, but you get to a point where things don't scale.
I know.
Because people are like, Aaron, you should do this, and you're like, I literally can't scale this.
Yeah.
I don't have to, like, mail out t-shirts every day. You're like, I'm not mailing out t-shirts.
Yep, I don't have the
That's
time.
Not a thing.
Yeah, same here.
I could have a company do it, but like it's another problem.
Yep.
I don't know.
Absolutely, and that's where I'm at too.
Can you show us around the car real quick before we leave you alone?
Of course.
All right, this car is awesome. This is his Corvette. Obviously, everybody knows exactly what it is. It is the overkill machine. These things, both of his cars are so insanely aggressive. Especially because I feel like you'd be just as happy in like a stock E36 kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Which is hilarious.
But that's the thing. Just as happy and being competitive are two different things. Sometimes driving these cars is not all that fun. We just do it because it's what we have to do. And unfortunately at this level, this is kind of what you need.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, right? Everybody has a different...
No, I think so. If you're going to bring out something and try and compete at this level, you might as well win.
Yeah.
Which becomes a problem because I've talked about this a little bit. The level of cars gets so aggressive that you keep raising the bar like any professional motorsports, and it gets more and more difficult to compete, and everybody has to get to the top, and it makes it harder and harder and harder and harder. So I don't know how you hold that back. There's no way to hold back horsepower or anything in drifting other than just tire rules, so there's not much you can do. All right, show us around the car.
Yeah, absolutely. So this, the beautiful thing about a Corvette, it already comes with an LS. Since I'm an LS guy, that made my life super easy, especially because, for example, Vortex supercharger with a bracket that was made for a Corvette, where the S chassis has a supercharger bracket that was made for a Camaro that we modified, that we did this and cut some stuff. So being able to buy stuff that just bolts on is amazing. Another perfect example of that is the exhaust system. Although this is a titanium version of Borla's off-the-shelf stainless exhaust system, it literally is off the shelf. Bolts on. I did some little turn downs on the back instead of going to the mufflers, and that's it. And it's just, those things can be found all over the place. The dry sump setup, it's for a Corvette. You buy it, you put it on.
Is it the Z06 one? Or an aftermarket?
It is a Z06 one, but I just changed the tank. That was the only thing that I did different, was that I ran a different tank for it. Just a larger tank. Everything's carbon Kevlar, like the inner fenders, the front bumper, the side skirt, the rockers, like anything that is detachable that can be purchased from HGK. I did. All carbon Kevlar, pretty much everything. The trunk and the roof is just like regular, which is funny to say, just regular carbon fiber from Anderson Composites. So that's what we have going on here.
Before we move on, you were talking about the body and everything.
Yeah.
Remember the other HGK? Is it HGK?
Yeah, HGK.
Yeah, HGK.
C6.
That C6 that was over here on like 225s or whatever.
Yeah.
I heard it was like 2,400 pounds.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a Z06 chassis, so it was aluminum, and it was an NA, and it had all the Kevlar stuff.
So did it really weigh that light?
I think it was like 2,500 with him in it or something like that.
Would your car be faster at that weight and everything?
So the thing about a Falcon is that the 295/40 is like the tire to beat.
So you just build your car for that?
Exactly. If they had maybe a 255 or a 265 with a large enough sidewall that we feel that, because us Falcon drivers are believers in sidewalls. That's just that's why we run this tire, right? So you almost build the car around the tire. And that's why I built a steel chassis, because I knew I was going to need the weight. I knew what the HGK car weighed, and I was also very well aware that I'm going to crash it. So repairing a steel chassis, a lot easier than repairing an aluminum chassis.
Yeah. All right, sorry, keep going.
It's all right. Inside, more carbon, more Kevlar stuff. New to this year is the doors. When I built the car last year, I couldn't afford to buy the HGK doors. They're crazy expensive. This year, saved a little bit of money,
How much are the doors?
They're like 2,800, $3,000, something like that.
For your?
No, for the pair of doors. Honestly, the HGK stuff is super affordable. Like if you break it down, bumpers 1,200, fenders this, whatever it might be, you're like, that's not too bad. But when you have to buy everything, it's like, that becomes expensive, right? So that's why I held back on the doors. Plus the stock Corvette doors are fiberglass. And it's funny, dude. Well,
how much difference is it?
Bro, incredibly different. Let me tell you this, when I built my car, I never took the doors off of it, right? I cut the doors out, stripped it all out, built the cage, built the whole car, built everything, never took the doors off, right? When I went to strip it down and to go take it to the body shop for paint, I took the doors off and was like, oh my God, I made a giant mistake. I thought these doors were gonna be light because the hinges and everything are super nice. No, crazy. They're like 30 pounds each, 25 pounds each stripped out. So even the door hinges, let me see if I can get some light if you can get in here.
I had to replace mine because somebody punched a hole in one of mine, so I know how heavy they are.
Yeah. So we even cheese graded, like drilled so many holes in the door hinges, because when I put the door hinges onto the door, the hinges literally weighed the same weight as the entire door did. So I was like, all right, we gotta lighten these up. And Rye actually went there with a hole saw for like, I don't know, what'd you spend, like an hour, Rye? Hole sawing these, like 3 hours? Probably 3 hours, putting hole saw through my freaking door hinges, because the hinges weighed as much as the doors. So that's just, Corvettes are just built beefy, man. It's just part of the deal. Inside, I have custom Cobra seats. They're super sweet that they were able to do like my stitching and everything, carbon backed. I mean, just literally as much carbon as I can possibly put in here. That's, if they sell it, I bought it. Carbon roof, cool shirt, the best thing in the world. Have you driven a car with a cool shirt yet?
Yeah, I just get real sweaty and just let the air blow over me.
Dude, it's life-changing. And you know what's funny?
I
Like,
have too many cars. I've got like 10 drift cars.
oh, you just need to make it mobile, dude.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, because they are kind of expensive. But if
Yeah.
you just put a mount in every car or throw it in the passenger seat,
a good
whatever.
idea.
Dude, it's funny. I only have ever seen cool shirts in like race cars and professional drift cars and stuff. And one of our customers had us put it in. He goes to Willow Springs all the time. If you guys don't know, Willow Springs is like the hottest racetrack in the world, right? It's death. Maybe about as bad as out here. And it's just his like street car, play car thing, FRS. He had us put a cool shirt in his like play car, street car. And at first I was like, why does he want that? I'm like, you know what? This guy's just smarter than the rest of us. That's all. Yep. My helmet, painted by PBK. I'm super in love with it this year.
Did they not make a dog box for these, so you had to go
Right, so
sequential?
So that's the thing. The gearbox is in the back in a Corvette, right? So HGK made a Samsonite sequential, aluminum CNC brackets that bolt it to a Winters quick change that's upside down to clear in the chassis, and it pretty much bolts in to a stock subframe, and it bolts to the stock torque tube. So I just had to buy like a certain year Z06 torque tube so that I would have the right splines to bolt to the gearbox in the right length, and cut one part of my subframe out and drill some holes, and it literally like bolted into the chassis almost. So the fact that it was the easiest way to get a quick change and a strong gearbox in the car, that all I had to do was order some CNC mounts, order a gearbox, order a diff, and it went right in. For like the S chassis, fab everything, right? Fab the trans mount, fab the trans tunnel, get the drive shaft made, do the whole subframe, quick change this, all that. So this was a very time-consuming build, so anything that I could spend money and save time on, I went that route.
All right, I have a really stupid question. If you have a quick change, if you have a sequential transmission, do you really need a quick change? You know what I mean? You already have pretty variable gearing, being able to get anywhere you need. Is it necessary, do you think?
I think on anything but a pro car, no. There's a couple people out here who still don't have quick changes, which blows my mind. But for me and my driving style and just what I'm accustomed to, because I grew up driving a quick change, right? Like I've been driving this car for how long? It always had a quick change. So for me to think about not having that and having to just start rowing gears, I don't really like it, because a perfect example is this track. The run-up's relatively short. So if whatever final drive I had required me to be in 6th gear out here, I would spend more time shifting than I would on the throttle. So it's really nice to be able to, like for this track, I gear it that I enter in 3rd gear. So I only shift twice, then upshift once, right? Whereas before I would have to start rowing gears if I didn't have a quick change. So I do think that it's necessary.
Keep going, sorry. I keep interrupting you for silly
It's
questions.
okay. So in the back, this is the radiator. It lays almost flat in the chassis. We do that to try to keep the weight as far down as possible. This is a fan shroud from HGK, Spall fans. It's a CNR radiator that CNR actually, like the first year I built this car, I did all this fab work, replaced putting the radiators, making the mounts, doing all that. I contacted CNR and I said, hey, if I send you this radiator, can you build me a new one? And they went ahead and built it. It's a better core and the car stays way cooler. So definitely a plus, considering the gearbox and the diff and the exhaust are under the radiator. So having like proper fans and a proper radiator is literally what saves drift cars. I mean, we do more time sitting and going sideways, so just having like airflow doesn't do anything. And this car is a perfect example. No airflow, but still stays cold. Yep.
So it doesn't overheat? You don't have to sit around and spray it or anything?
Never spray it, never gets hot. I mean, it definitely will get 230 at some points, but on an LS, that's not overheating, you know?
Still scary.
Not this thing, not with this engine. Nitrous. This is like the Kevlar inner fenders from them. Pretty standard stuff. Lexan, expansion tank, swirl pot. That's the oil catch can for the dry sump. Yeah, biggest thing about drift cars, and like one thing that I was worried about with the Corvette was how much crush room I would actually be able to have. But you can see I built in, I feel like a pretty large amount of crush room. But on a Corvette, like, have you ridden walls with your car yet? You know, like the difference between the bumper and the rear tire is pretty close.
Yeah.
So if you sink it in a little bit, like, you're definitely gonna hit. So that was something that I had to get used to, but this is it, man. Oh, if you wanna look down here, as you can see, like, this is the Borla titanium exhaust, quick change, all the Part Shop Max stuff. We were just making some changes out here already today, and makes it very easy. You can see the rear covers, pop that off, change the final drive.
So that you said the car was 3,050? Was that with you in it?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
be in it. So it was 3,050 before I did the titanium exhaust, and I saved like 25 pounds on the exhaust, so I'm like 3,025 like loaded
With you in it.
with me in it.
No.
That's about what I guess I would think it would weigh. It's kind of crazy it's not even lighter if you think about it. Because like as I poke around the car, you're like, this thing looks crazy light.
But
Like
yeah,
if you told me this thing weighed 2,500 pounds, I'd believe you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think the steel chassis is actually like 180 pounds heavier than the aluminum one or whatever it might be, right? It's like
Yeah.
a pretty significant amount. And I didn't build everything as light as humanly possible, especially in the places that I knew.
You're
Like,
from the truck stuff, so you want stuff strong.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to be able to hit it. But I mean like chromoly bash bars, super thin walls, thin plates, like with the titanium exhaust, carbon seats, all that stuff. But I do have a regular like Optima red top, like the full size, and that battery's like 50 pounds. So I could get one of those tiny little 3 or 4 pound batteries and save a lot. I also have the stock fuel tank that's been chopped, and FuelSafe built me a fuel cell inside of the stock tank. So that's kind of heavy, but I didn't mind it, right? Because the fuel tanks are right here, like right where you want it. So I could save some weight on that if I wanted to. All these aluminum tanks, I could have built them smaller, could have built them lighter, could have built them out of carbon, stuff like that.
What do you hook right there?
So because the battery is underneath the car, so like I have the stock fuel tank on that side, and the stock Corvette has a fuel tank on this side and that side. I ditched the one on this side and put the battery where the stock gas tank was. So if you have to like jump the car, you can't get underneath it.
Okay.
So this is a forklift charger. So my battery pack and my battery charger have the same plug on there.
Oh.
So you just pop it in, you can jump start the car.
That's a trick.
Yeah.
Neat. All right, we're about to leave you alone. What is the biggest change you want to do to this car?
I've actually been talking about putting the gearbox in the front in normal layout, not having a torque tube, so that when I have to do a clutch or do a gearbox, it doesn't take me a day and a half. That would be nice. Because pulling the gearbox on the 14 is like 30 minutes. Pulling the gearbox on the Vet is like 4 hours. It's just how it is.
Yeah, but it's also one of the reasons why you love the car.
Absolutely.
So I was gonna say, people, when I first got the car, they're like, ha ha ha, good luck doing that.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's the best part of the car.
Yeah.
I drive a Humvee around and people like, they complain about all these things. You're like, that's why we like the
That's
vehicle.
what makes it
That's
fast.
what it is. Like, you're like, I like the Corvette because the transmission's in the back, because it's attached to the diff.
Yeah.
You're like, in the grand scheme of things, you don't have to build the car and you don't have to pull anything if nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Like-
that's been something this year. Like last year I had it in and out a million times. This year's been a little bit better. So I'm hoping next year if I leave it in this layout, 0 issues, 0 problems, just drive the damn thing.
How many times do you have to like work on the transmission in a year?
So honestly, the clutch I never have a problem with, ever. I run an ACT twin plate, like I can run an entire season, maybe 2 on it and not worry about it. It comes down to stupid stuff like I broke a gearbox for the first time this year, you gotta pull it out. The rear main seal started leaking in it, had to pull that to do the rear main seal. So it's literally never been the gearbox or the diff or the torque tube or any of that stuff. Like very rarely were those mechanically at fault. It was other random things that forced me to pull it, like having to do a motor or having to do a rear main seal or having to do this or having to do that. So if I can iron out those couple of things, maybe I won't have to touch it all year. That would be amazing.
All right, we'll leave you alone. Thank you so much. If you want to
Absolutely.
come drive my Corvette in Texas, fly out. We'll give you a car and tires and stuff.
Awesome, yeah.
All right.
I know I'm down. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Later, man.